Hello and thank you for joining me today. My thing is upside down, which makes it... Hello and thank you for joining me today as we continue on the journey of painting the sky. So last time I was saying that we're going to work on these specialty bits, but you know what? I think it's actually going to be better if we just work on the body itself. So we've worked on the front panel here. So today I think what we're going to do, and over the next couple of videos as well, probably just blend them all together, is get this panel, use this one as the template to make the rest of it match all through. I'm going to do a bit of a funky glow effect, I think, coming out of this little what's it at the back here, and we'll work on some sections that I think are going to be different colors. It might have some grays, red highlights, darker grays, black for this section here, and we'll just work our way through it so it all looks as one nice complete unit. We'll utilize the beauty of time lapses and come back after we've done working on a few of these little sections. So I've done a lot of the coloured sections now. I've picked on the reds and the greys, and I quite like how it's coming out. I'm going to be a little bit sneaky and put a bit of Nuln oil into the recesses between these ones before I go over on a gold highlight. And some of these ones I might turn into like little lensy gem type of pictures as well. These ones underneath here and the ones on the sides here. Yeah, that'd be nice areas to have a different colour coming through. So let's just do a bit of that shading behind those ones, colour in the gold. I'll probably then continue tomorrow.
Several days later.
Hello and welcome back for tonight as we continue working on this amazing torso bit of the wonderful Stormsurge. Last time we added in some colours to all the little bits here. We put some Nuln oil inside these little bits there. Today, yes, it's all about the Agrax Earthshade. We're going to get into all those other little recesses and try and get the back panels of the torso looking very similar to the panel in front. Let's get into it. Alright, so that's a lot of that shading kind of applied to that one. My goodness, there are lots of cracks and crevices to put that stuff into. So I'm going to let that one dry, but while it's drying, I think we might just go over some of the red and touch up a few of those spots. And a little bit on the blacks on these parts here. But that's not as important as just starting to tidy up a few things, which we might need to get some new paints on that one for. Okay, so we've done with all the shading. We've tidied up a couple of the rougher edges there, so the reds and the greys are all finished. We're going to be doing some highlights at the end. We're going to pick out a couple of features. I think we're going to go with golds on a few things. But now it's time for that dreaded edge highlighting. Time to match that front panel. We're going to start off with the white. So we're going to use a combination of Administratum Grey and White Sky. We'll blend these two together to create a nice little thing, and we're going to gradually become more and more towards the white side of stuff and make it look all nice and pretty. We'll then go on to the greys and reds a little bit later, but in the meantime, enjoy some time lapse. not too fussed with the underside stuff because highlights don't necessarily reach down underneath there, but it's still nice to create that sharper contrast between the shadows and that highlighted section. I've made some boo-boos and we'll probably just need to fix those ones up, but that's coming along very nicely.
The next day.
Alrighty, so we've done a lot of the shading on... No, not the shading. We've done a lot of the edge highlighting. I still haven't done the red section yet. We've started on the greys. But you know what? I'm getting bored of doing edge highlighting, so let's put some decals in before we do the battle damagey stuff. So I'm looking at this one. I've given this guy a few little tattoos. So he's got on the outer aspect and inner aspect on both legs there. And I think I'm going to do a similar sort of get up top as well. I'm looking at probably putting a little bit in this panel here, maybe some small ones on both sides of the collar, and maybe slip a little one just in that section there. So let's go through that process. The first thing we've got to do, pick up the decal sheet. Let's see. I like the look of this one here for this patch here. Yep, that'll work well. Maybe these little ones on either side of the collar because there's two of the same, so that could look good on both sides. And then something long and thin and not cut. So I'll find another sheet of this stuff with one of those on it because I think that actually matches what I've put on this guy's helmet. And that way it'll look like he is tied or assigned to this particular cockpit. Yeah, that'll look good. So what we need to do then is apply a bit of a varnish to begin with on that aspect there, there, and there. And for the varnishing, I'm going to use good old Ard Coat. You can't really see it there, but this is that Citadel glossy varnish. So we're just going to use my trusty varnish brush, which doesn't matter so much if it gets all damaged, and just apply a couple of thin little coats onto these areas that are going to be involved. Alright, I'll be back once that's all dried up.
A few moments later.
Alright, so that varnish is all dried up there. I use the glossy because it makes the decals stick a lot more comfortably. But the next thing we need to do is get the decals off their transfers and onto this part here. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take this guy and put it on the corner of my trusty wet palette. Give it a bit of a smush in there, add a little bit of water from there, and just give it a bit of time. So we'll just get the other ones prepared at the same time. Paper side down, because that way it helps the water absorb in, and the transfer comes off really easily off the top. So we can see it sitting there quite nicely. Just give it a little feel, and what will happen is after a moment it'll become all nice and there we go. So I've got a little bit of water on the tip of my brush here, and I'm just going to use that water and put a little bit over the varnish section. Now what's going to be nice is if we can just pick this whole thing up, put it in the orientation I want it to go. And then we're just going to decide on what way looks best. I think we're going to make it go backwards. So we can just slide it off here. And get it onto there. You never have enough fingers to do this kind of thing. Go on, yeah. There we go. Let's just plonk it straight down. Now, I like putting the decals down before I do any battle damage because it makes sense to me that if there's going to be battle damage, the decals will get damaged as well. So we're just going to do the same thing with all these different ones. So we're going to add that little bit of water for it to glide onto. What's the direction of this one? Is the U at the front. I'm just going to stick that one Straight along there like so. We're just using the tip of the brush here to align it. Just want to get it in line with that little vent. Square section there. Perfect, almost. There we go. And then the same thing on this side. Oh, we don't have a vent. Just need to make sure it goes the same orientation. And it can go smack bang in the middle of this one. Just like so. There we go. Now when those guys have dried up in their spots, because they're nice flat panels, I don't need to do a lot of shaping with them, but I will be putting a layer of Storm Shield over the top of that just to lock it in place. I also then do a final varnish over the entire product, but this way it's going to make sure that if I do go over them, they're not going to get bumped or moved accidentally. And there you go, nice and easy decals.
2 weeks later.
Alright, so that is a lot of that highlighting all kind of done. I've started working on the engine at the back here. We've done the reds, we've done the greys, we've done the whites. We've tied it all up, except for this little bit back here, which I'm going to do some funky stuff to. Now, let's do some special spots. So we're going to put some gold on this. We're going to do some gold trim on the outlines of these guys. And gold and all the things that look like screws. And these points here. And then after that, we're going to do green on these ones to become like the lenses that we see on this guy. All right, so let's get into it. Pretty nice for that base coat with the gold. We'll go over that one with probably a bit of a Agrex Earthshade again to give it to dull it out a little bit and fill in some of those darks. We need to tidy up a couple of little things. We're going to put some black on the inside of that, put a bit of the greys around the outside to sharpen up that border, and fix up the little blob that I just did in the middle of that guy there. So we'll fix that up with a tiny little drop of black. We'll save the gems to another day, and next time, let's get into some battle damage.
3 days later.
Okay, so here we are. We've pretty much done all the shading and the highlights and the cleaning it up and the putting the details into place. I do need to tidy up this section, but I'm holding on with that bit, so it'll come through later. We've started with the engine stuff here, but right now we're up to that really fun stage of getting the battle damage kind of stuff happening through the rest of the torso part. And then we'd almost be able to call the torso part almost done. We just need to do a couple of lenses. And yeah, that'll pretty much be it. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take some of our trusty old Ashen Grey, good old corner piece of our sponge, and find a couple of corners that are going to look good with a bit of damage on them. So we've got some Ashen already on the old palette. I'll lather it up into some of this stuff. Find a nice place to get it all out again. And then, this is the most terrifying bit. Pick on areas that we expect wear and tear to occur. Pretty well matches the aesthetic of the legs there. Looking good, chunky boy. Alright, next time we'll get into some lens details on the torso and get this one ready for some arms and enormous guns. Thanks very much, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.